Okay, we are live streaming. It is 6 o'clock. I'm seeing people join in WebEx. Yeah, a few people here in person, so I think we're good to start if everyone else is.
And Peter, this is Billy. I'm on my way up. I'm here.
Oh,
Virtual
okay.
at the moment.
Right now we have 0. Or no, we have 1.
Okay, welcome everyone. We're going to get our town hall started, our town hall and public engagement. We've got some folks joining here in the room. We've got a couple of folks online, and then it looks like we've also got some folks that are joining us on YouTube Live. So we've got multiple channels tonight. I'm going to introduce what our scope is, what we're trying to accomplish, and also run through what the agenda and some ground rules will also be. So tonight we're hoping to solicit feedback from the public on different projects that are happening throughout the town, whether that's streets or our GoCo project or anything else. It's kind of an open format. So the projects that are happening through town, perhaps general ideas for improving the town, and any ideas on how to improve the process of public engagement. So some ground rules. Unlike our other BOT meetings, there will be no time limit on public comment. So you can speak for as long as you like. There will be no time limit of the 3 minutes that we usually have. We'll also take public comments, and afterwards BOT members or Peter, our public engagement manager, will have an opportunity to respond. So it'll be hopefully a two-way conversation, not just a one-way conversation. Despite, even though it'll be an open time limit, so you can take as much, we do ask that you self-regulate, just because there'll be folks not just here in the room, but also online who will want to comment. Please be respectful, focus on issues or process, and be open and curious. Those would be our ground rules. To also start us off is the introduction of Peter, who's our public engagement manager. Peter, you can wave to everyone. There he is. All right, so he's going to help facilitate various programming in the future to engage the public. He already had a track record of doing much of this work in his previous role as the administrative assistant, but now he has an opportunity to dedicate 100% of his time to this function. He's building off work that happened with Envision 2030, but will also, and that's going to be crucial in understanding the communities and also around updating our comp plan, renegotiating our IGA, understanding the housing strategy. These are going to be crucial public engagement milestones or events where having someone dedicated like Peter is going to be really important. Some other reasons why his role is here. We've had a history of Nederland residents wanting more of a public engagement function. So instead of compromising multiple positions, we now have one person dedicated to it. We're also hoping that it'll improve communications, relationship in a constructive format, and get kind of this wider view of all the folks and their different viewpoints. We're also hoping that we can get ahead of sometimes the rumor mill that happens, right? By making sure that we're updating folks regularly and more consistently. He's also overseeing some of the tourism pieces, the tourism management, and let me put it in that. It's not about getting more and more people here. It's about managing the people who are already coming, and how do we help to educate them on how to treat Nederland, right? So those are some of the things that his role is focusing on, and he'll have an opportunity to comment on some of the public comment as well, in addition to the BOT members. So what we'll do is for the next hour and a half until we run out of time, we'll have just an open dialogue. Again, come up, state your piece. We'll have a conversation with BOT members. And if at a certain point it looks like we've ran out of things to say, then we have the Engagement HQ platform. This is the new website, community engagement website that Peter's been working on. We can debut that. And we can also talk about some of the other updates. For instance, our housing study, which we now have 115 people who filled it out, and some of the things that we've done from an engagement standpoint to tick those up. Okay, and with that, we'll go ahead and open it up for comment. And we can start with the folks in the room. And again, you have an open time limit. Nobody's gonna tell you to stop talking. You can go for as long as you'd like. So do we have any first go? Okay, so between Jean and Leo, who wants to go first?
Hello, my name is Leonidas. Please call me Leo. I live in Ireland, and my idea is to make the town better is that when more people come in and when more people come in and we have less room, that means we need more room. And so I think that we should have some more housing, like that people can afford with beautiful views. And I think there should be like big apartments so the people who can afford the houses. And to do that, I think there should be an arcade. Reason being is who doesn't like video games? And I think we should use tokens because I think imagine somebody has $25 and they need to buy something for 25 cents. So go to the video game store and basically use it as an ATM. And then they'll buy it. I think we should use tokens for that reason being. And my next reason is to also connect for more money for the housing and apartments, big apartments, is that sports. We don't have many sports up here. I mean, we have a couple sports like ice skating up here and snowboarding and skiing, but there's not that many like for the summertime. I think maybe some basketball or baseball for like the younger kids, not the older kids like in the other side of the law. So I think we should just hire some random coaches, raise some money, save some money for some equipment, and well, just get a field at my school or any other schools. And well, there we go. And all those other ideas connect to this last idea I have. I've seen people drive really fast on the roads and I almost got hit several times. And so basically, I think we should set up speed cameras. And I think that because people are just driving so fast that I feel like it's over speed limits. Because when speed limit's 15, they're driving 50. And speed cameras cost a lot of money. So all the ideas, the housing, the payment, the apartment paying, the video game, the ATM. I mean the video game. They and the sports, they'll all connect to raise the money with the speed cameras. Thank you for letting me have your time.
Okay, so if I were to reflect back what you said, we need housing for people who work here. Okay, some like apartments. We need an arcade. We need sports up here for youth, like baseball and basketball, and we need some speed cameras for the people that go fast. Did I capture all that? Okay. Thank you, Leo.
Trustee Sterling, would this be an appropriate time to offer some or some updates on some of those items that are actually in the works?
I would love to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So currently there is the plans for an arcade downtown. So Snyder's Garage is looking to convert to an arcade, which is very exciting. Currently going through kind of the permitting process for that. So long going because of the environmental issues in that building, but coming. Troy Hendricks, who's our emergency administrator, he and I actually talked quite a bit about speed cameras and really recognizing the value that those play in not tying up law enforcement time. And we've actually found a company that pays for itself. So what it is the fee is tacked on to the speed ticket that covers the cost of the administration of that program. These tickets don't count towards your license, so they're not points on someone's license, but they are revenue for the town and a way in which we can try to change that behavior, because ultimately it's not just about money, but it's about directing the appropriate behavior. So really exciting to hear Leo talk about those, and those are two things that are currently in the works.
I'd like to also mention that myself and our parks manager, Nikki, have been looking at ways where we can encourage like after school and summer youth activities like sports and things, and how we can make our public parks more accessible to people that want to do that. So that is something that we're also working on. So I think you hit all the main points, Leo. So yeah, good job.
Thank you, Leo. I think Leo is our youngest attendant tonight. He's 8 years old. So unless there's somebody online that can beat him. All right, who's next? Who else would like to speak? Jean, you were, yep.
Leo did great. He addressed some of the issues that I feel important, like community housing and all that. I'll move that over here. I wanted to address several things. One was our last election. There were some ambiguities with the law, and it went to a court, and the judge sided with the town, but said the law is not right. Our rules for election are not right. And that was last August, September, and I don't believe that has been addressed yet by the town board. Those issues still exist on the public record. Why isn't that being fixed? You know, that should be addressed right away. The other thing that really bothers me is this pump track idea. It's being pushed forward. There's a picture that's not realistic to what's being proposed. You see this picture on NetEds, and it shows this windy course through a port going left and right and all that. I asked one of the people that organized this petition. Well, we had 170 people sign the petition. I said, how many of those people were actually town residents? That's where the communication with this gent ended. He could not answer that because he was getting people outside of the town of the Netherlands sign this petition. I think this is such an important issue with the people that live in this town, that if we're going to spend that kind of money, and I've heard up to, it's a GOCO grant that we have to have matching funds for. I've heard that this thing could cost upward to 500,000. I might not be right with my numbers. I might not even be close, but if we're going to take community funds to spend something like that, why not put it before the voters? Let the voters decide. I think the location is number one, down by either by Barker Reservoir or only City Park. We're going to make it smaller so that people can ride around on bumps. I just don't see it. We also have a problem. If we're building it to bring more people into town, we already have traffic problems on a weekend. You know, in this facility, is this really to bring people into town? Are there that many local residents? Are the elderly, the seniors in their city going to be out there pumping around? I doubt it. And I doubt this thing would pass if it went before the vote. Another issue is a police department issue. I'm the night watchman at the Eldora Ski Resort, and I have interactions with the Boulder County Sheriff's Department. Nicest people. I think we have the most fantastic sheriff's department, but they are understaffed. I had a situation where I had a trespasser and I needed the assistance of Boulder County Sheriff's Department. It took an hour and a half for the Boulder Sheriff to show up. And he said he was the only one on patrol in West Boulder County from Allen's Park all the way down to Nederland and the Gilpin County line. And I'm going, that's just too much to ask for. If we need police now. Usually people have an emergency, they need police now. We can't wait an hour and a half or more for a Boulder County sheriffs. They're great. They would support our local police department, but we can't rely on them to do the job that we should be doing. And that's one of the reasons why we don't have a bank. Banks don't want to locate in a town that does not have a law enforcement.
What time of the day was, you made the call to the police department?
It was around midnight.
It was around midnight. Okay.
Miranda, don't we have police that we contract 50%?
Yeah, but so that 50% of the time is the entire kind of Boulder County, to Jean's point, the whole peak to peak region of Boulder County. So
50% of the time they're obligated to be parked in our area.
correct.
That just randomly happen to be not around. I
Correct.
guess.
That must have been at the
They could be in
time.
Gold Hill, they could
Yep.
be in
Yeah.
Allen's Park. or
And
Ward.
what's the update with the sergeant?
So I met with Division Chief Chamberlain today, and he thinks August or September, we should be able to have a sergeant in place.
And then will the rest of the deputies fall in line?
So there's 2 deputies who are going through academy right now. So they have a 10-week academy and then they move to a 3-month FTO program. So best case scenario with those new officers is beginning of 2024. The hope is still to get 2 laterals that come over, in which case they only have the FTO program.
I feel like when they were here at the town hall, they made it sound like there was all kinds of guys just excited to come work up here.
So there's a lot of individuals who are extra duty, but not those extra duty officers. Many of them don't want to convert to their permanent location being here.
It's too bad. Yeah.
Okay, so let's run down through some of the other points that you came down, and I'll let,
Another thing I brought up with one of you folks was fire mitigation. I think being at a mountain community and seeing what's happening in the west, we got to be more involved with getting the citizens to be involved with removing the dead, diseased trees. It's not going to eliminate the fire danger, but if it makes it easier for fire suppression, for the fire people to put out a fire, do it if it makes it easier. And I was told at the time when I suggested that the town did not have the funds to remove the dead trees on town properties, and it would be inappropriate to ask the residents to conform with fire suppression. And that's kind of a ridiculous answer. I think we find money for stupid things that did not have a payback to the town. I don't think we should be funding somebody to go to a thing in Arkansas on a mountain bike trail building. There's nowhere in town where you can build a mountain bike trail. They're all outside of town. Self-enrichment should not be part of an agenda for members of the board. The funding of this Ned Fest thing that happened in the springtime, I actually found out that we had no return in increased tax revenue. I actually liked the format, the lady that did the job, lining up all these music acts in all of our restaurants and bars. I thought that was great. But again, and I think that was actually Downtown Development Authority funds, but it's still public funds being spent on something totally irrelevant. These bars and restaurants will still bring in entertainment, irregardless of whether we call it Netter Days or not. And I think that I addressed all these issues. Yeah, and then back to the pump track deal. We're gonna make it asphalt, but how about laying that asphalt down behind the information center there, the public parking lot in front of town hall? That has turned into a 4-wheel drive parking lot. There's other streets in town that could be paved that could use that asphalt. I think this pump track is gonna cost our community a lot of money. But let the citizens decide if it's really being promoted such that, wow, there's a lot of people that really want this. Let us vote on it. Don't spend that kind of money on something that I don't think is gonna be used.
thank you, Jean.
Thank you.
One of these days, we're going to get you on a board here, so you can. All right, so let's address some of the comments here. Miranda? Yep.
So with regards to the election code that needs amendment, currently our town attorney is working on that draft language, and it's set to come before the Board of Trustees at the second meeting in July. Goal is for it to be voted and for the ordinance to be codified, ideally before fall. It needs to be in place, of course, prior to the April 2024 election. So that, and what that does is clarifies kind of how we handle vacancy, cleans up some of that code language that led to that that court hearing that where the judge did rule that the language could be cleaner. Really, that's what the work is being done by the town attorney. But a resident, Kathleen Chipai, did identify that there may be some historical discrepancies with the election code. So she's also researching that simultaneously. And when she brings forward that code amendment, she'll also present her findings to the board about maybe some historical ordinance codification issues that may or may not exist. I don't know the status of where she stands on that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Other
And-
than, I'll say it's just taking a long
Yeah.
time to.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so a lot of that was actually researching, trying to do some research into the original codification and trying to locate the original municipal code. So some deep diving into historic records and really making sure that we understand kind of how we got here, which of course is what's taken the bulk of the time, is trying to do a lot of historical 1996 data collection. So, but July, it's currently set for July 18th to come back. Yeah, moving forward. The other thing I think I can speak on is visitor center repaving. So the Downtown Development Authority had contributed $139,000 for repaving the visitor center parking lot in Jefferson as a part of the sidewalk project that's happening there from the RTD parking lot to the First Street. We've identified that the sidewalk repair happening on the visitor center side is minimal, so we can repave the visitor center parking lot now instead of waiting for the completion of that project. So we have working on securing 3 estimates, and the DDA gave us the green light to go ahead and move forward with that repaving. So we aim to do that hopefully end of July, beginning of August, definitely this summer, that will be milled down and repaved completely. Those are the 2 things I think I can speak to.
One
Oh,
thing
yeah,
I
one more.
wanted, oh, go for it.
Oh, my last one is the fire mitigation. So the parks team did go and get chainsaw training. So they do have the capacity to do town-owned land. Definitely personnel is a challenge. We don't have a ton of people in that department, but they did receive the appropriate training to support with that.
And the county, I talked to the commissioner and she reminded me that the ballot measure had passed for a tax, a sales tax towards fire mitigation for the county, and that we'd be eligible as a municipality to apply for some of those funds to use that money for fire mitigation as well. So that they're getting that process in place for people in the county, communities in the county to apply for that money, but that is part of our sales tax in the county now.
We're blessed, we're having a great rain season. Fire mitigation, it's always possible, but it's so low this year. I look at.
I'm sorry, can you step up to the mic again?
Yeah,
We
just a
can't hear you
second.
online.
They can't hear you online.
Get up here. They want to hear.
It just seems that we're moving so slow at something that needs to be addressed, right away. Same thing with these other issues I brought up, like the election rules that we have and all that. It takes forever to get this stuff done, and fire is not going to wait for us. It's going to happen when it does, and we need to be prepared for it. And the best prepared is, mitigation now. So what? We're getting a lot of rain. That's not going to be every year, and that drought will return and haunt us. So food for thought.
Stay right there. So one of the other things that I think Troy was working on was some of the broader fire mitigation strategies.
So
Correct.
he's working more on an emergency operation.
Emergency, okay.
Specific to
Sorry.
fire mitigation, but purpose of his new role as emergency administrator is to identify evacuation routes for all the respective neighborhoods and work
I
alongside.
don't want to see my house burned down.
And
Yeah, I live in Big Springs and there's a lot of property owners and I drive by dead trees everywhere. And it's not so much just the town properties. It's properties all over town where I see standing dead. It needs to be cleared out.
So when we adopted the 2018 building code a couple years ago, there was conversation about requiring defensible spaces, codifying it to ensure that people actually, when they mitigated their property for defensible spaces, that ended up being pulled out because there was, obviously it was really kind of heavy hitting financially because all new builds require fire resistant siding and sprinkler systems. But I do know the fire department is interested in the town considering the codification of defensible spaces, which would allow us to enforce that you have to have zones 1 through 3 to ensure that your properties are well mitigated and protected.
I
The
just think
fire
that
marshal is my next door neighbor, so we talk about this all the time.
Great.
it seems like the town's gonna have to pony up some money though for people that can't afford to do it. I mean, that's gonna be a thing.
Right, I think that's one of the challenges and why it did get pulled back is just recognizing the cost, you know, how long do you give people to comply? But there definitely, as the fire marshal has noted, the current and the former is that, you know, without really codifying that defensible space, you have no control. And so when people do call town hall all the time and say, you know, I really would like my neighbor to take care of this down tree, we just don't have any enforcement in that capacity. And all we can do is educate on the dangers of not mitigating your property.
Jean, do you have some ideas around that?
All I can say is that there should be some impetus that imposed on those. You know, I saw what happened to my property tax assessment this year. It went up $180,000, so unrealistic. But then again, you got to be a millionaire to live in this community today. You want to move here, you got to move here with a lot of money. You know, and it is hard pressed for the seniors who are on Social Security, fixed income, the workers being forced to live outside of Nederland because there's not affordable housing, another pet issue that I have, that is moving forward so slow. It's taking years to get affordable housing in this community for local workers, because that tungsten thing that we built, or that the whatever, benefited a lot of people from Boulder. And, you know, we talk about the traffic coming up Boulder Canyon. I've said this over and over and over again. The state highway department can't widen that highway more than it is. You know, at some point, it's going to be like LA, bumper to bumper going 10 miles an hour, all because we made Nederland that big. And it's just not going to change. But food for thought. We got to keep that in mind with all these projects that we do.
Well, the lucky thing about the housing is that we're wrapping up the study because I can't tell you how many folks have said, yes, there's a problem. No, there's not a problem. And so we're hoping that this data is going to inform us, if one, if there is a problem, and two, where is the missing piece?
Well, those folks that say it's not a problem don't own a business in this town. You know, a lot of businesses are closed certain days a week, and those days could be income producing days, tax days for the town.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say is that, you know, just in terms of the varying information that we receive or guidance is regarding the election guidelines, was to slow down and figure it out. So, you know, you're saying, hey, hurry it up. You guys are taking too long. And so some of the other guidance we received was wait. And this was actually brought about by Kathleen Chipeye in her research. She said, wait a second, slow down. There's a discrepancy here. And so that's when we hit pause.
Does Kathleen live in the town of Nederland?
No, but she pointed out something that would bite us later in the courtroom. And so she gave us some information that therefore we got our lawyer working on it. Now our lawyer's digging into it. No, Kathleen does.
No,
She owns a
Kathleen is
business.
very astute to the law, very intelligent lady and all that. But, you know, again, you know, an outside input sometimes is good to have.
Mhm.
But this town needs to be run by its residents first. Residents need to come first. And I'm just point that out.
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Hey, Gene, can I
Anybody?
just real quickly grab the mic for just a second? I think, Gene, you pointed out something that is pretty urgent and pretty important to the existential nature of the town. And that is that we cannot rely on rain, especially in early season rain, to be a savior. There's a characteristic of the land that's called duff. It's basically undergrowth, and that becomes dry tender later in the season. So big rain early season is actually more dangerous. And I just want to point out that this is a great opportunity to discuss in case there are some people online or who have not heard of it, the Wildfire Partners program. They allow for a professional to come up and give you advice on what you can cut down and what you can't. Now, in years past, they've offered 50% incentives to help pay for some of the big ticket items like tree removal and those sorts of things. I don't know if they're going to continue that yet this year, but that's something to definitely look into. The beautiful thing about Wildfire Partners is once they're done with their recommendations and you've complied with them, you can submit this to your insurance company. And I think everybody up here knows how expensive it is to insure property in Nederland. Insurance companies are giving a pretty substantial break on the cost of insurance if you've complied with the Wildfire Partners program. So it's a great program, and I really recommend that if you haven't looked into it, you certainly should.
It would seem to me that the insurance companies would be very much interested in fire mitigation as opposed to settlements when a community, when a house or a development burns down and then they have to shell out millions. That Superior fire was $2 billion. But have we approached the insurance companies? Say, we need your help. Can you help us out? Because that would benefit them too and their coverage. Benefit us with cheaper insurance rates. Just food for thought.
Yeah, no, that's a great point as well, Gene. But in the case of some residences, it's actually less expensive than people think to do the proper mitigation. For example, rolled steel tin at the base 6 inches of a property can be a substantial barrier to sparks and those sorts of things. So there are some things that are very low cost that can be done, and it's just I highly encourage people to ask the professionals. Abby is in particular wonderful about coming out and giving you a very quick survey of your home and some suggestions for mitigation. So thank you, Gene, for all your comments. I really appreciate. It's great to see, and Leo as well. Great to see the involvement tonight.
Thank you.
So the last thing to address, because I'm sure it'll be, other folks might have comments on it, is the pump track. Want to make sure that we address that for you as well. And so I will toss that over to Jesse. Jesse, some of the questions that Gene raised was, hey, were there non-town residents on those 180 plus people? He brought up the question of, how much it's going to cost, and also whether or not town funds are going to be supporting it.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Gene, for your comments and showing up and participating and being engaged. So yeah, the pump track, I have been one of the primary champions of that effort, and I believe in it. And I feel that there is a lot of support for it. And I did happen to pull up the stats there, so we have accurate numbers on that. And so it's 185 people signed on saying they support it. And of those 185, 109 live here full-time. Hang on. So 5 said they live here part-time. 59 said they live near but outside of Ned. 23 said they visit Ned, and that's it. So there's your spread. And regarding the funding, yeah, I was planning to fundraise new revenue for the town on that. Wasn't looking to tap into existing town money or town revenue to pay for that. I agree with you that the visitor center parking lot could definitely go for some fresh pavement. I'm a fan of that initiative as well, and so I don't see this as an either or scenario. So then there may have been one other comment on the pump track.
The location, that it was.
That's been a big issue with the people that I talked to, mountain bike riders. Again, the idea of putting it down by our beautiful reservoir or in our only park in town, they didn't like that. Financing is an issue that I have because I thought that the GoCo grant had to be matching funds from the community. And also, who's going to maintain this park, this pump track park? Our community funds, our town of Nederland funds, going to be used to maintain it.
So it would be Parks and Rec that would be maintaining it, is my understanding. Correct.
So it's gonna cost the residents of this town taxpayer dollars to build and to maintain this pump track.
That's
Well,
a
again,
bill.
like I said,
ma-
we'll be looking to fundraise new capital, new revenue that the town doesn't currently have that would be targeted. We would do a specific fundraising campaign.
Those funds aren't
specifically.
there though now, are they?
Correct.
Privately funded, Gino.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying.
The maintenance estimates on maintenance were $1,000 a year. So
And that's high. That's a high estimate.
just to put some numbers on
But
it.
is that the best use? If public funds are involved anywhere in this, is this the best use of funds? We have crosswalks in town that have no more paint on them.
That's
Isn't
CDOT, that's not us.
So we don't put up the crosswalks?
No,
No.
Well, the town of Nederland did
On
secure
town
the
roads,
Safer Main Streets grant, which will do signalized and designated crosswalks from the RTD to the library and from the visitor center across.
You know, in the
First-
winter, you don't see them anyway because of the snow.
Right, so these
but
will have the signage, the
You
flag
know,
signage.
by the time it gets done, it's gonna be fall and we're back into winter again. So why pave or paint in September when it should have been done in May?
Right, so that'll be done under the Safer Main Streets grant, which is set to complete its construction in 2024.
Yeah, and we're back to progress is slow.
Right.
so Gino, the reason for the location at the park is so like parents can drop off their kids in one location. It's not like drop one kid off here at the playground, drop another kid off over by the tennis rink.
Tanya,
It's just convenient for families and
Tanya,
it's meant to be a family activity for
put
the
it
most part.
before the voters.
It's going to be privately
Put it
funded.
before it's still
Fine.
using town land. You're taking public land and you're gonna turn it into a private thing. Let the voters vote on it. And if the voters say, we want a pump track, I will shut up. I won't say anything more, but let the voters approve it.
Thank you, Jane.
That's a simple thing.
That's it.
Awesome.
Can I just offer clarification on the GOCO?
Oh.
Yes, any Great Outdoors Colorado grant does require a match funding at 20%, although GOCO has recommended bringing 50% to the table. But currently there's not, ProSub isn't looking at GOCO grants funding for the pump track. There has been discussion about GOCO funds for upgrading the rink and tennis court area.
Nice.
And really GOCO needs to be for these large scale projects, and that one is in much need. When we acquired that asset, took it back over from the nonprofits, there was kind of a general understanding that we would pursue a GOCO grant to do a kind of an overhaul of that whole space.
Good for thought.
I just wanted to jump in and say there've been a couple hands that have been raised for a little bit of time. So I don't want to run out of time before everybody gets a chance to chime in. I think
Trustee
Tanya,
Sterling.
you've had your hand.
Yep, sorry, I didn't know if you were doing the room only, but Tanya Unger has had her hand up online for a little while.
Yeah, so the thought was to go ahead and clear the folks in the room and then we can go to the folks that are online. We've got a couple more folks. So I see Ms. Gerald's hand raised, so she's going to come to the podium and speak. Thanks, May.
Thanks. Thank you, Nicole and Mayor Giblin and all of you that showed up for showing up today. Thank you for your comments. I've been doing the one note tango on why don't we hold elections and let the people decide on important issues like the pump track, even on the housing survey. When I came to the meeting, we had most of the people in the room were either staff or board members, and they were voting on what the priorities should be for getting more housing in. And I thought that was really inappropriate. I think the only way to really get a read from people, especially on matters of importance, is to send it out for a vote. We often hear the same argument. We can't afford it. I looked at last month's attorney bill, $9,600. And there was nothing special going on. I understand that some of the months it's been over 20,000. Kathleen Chipeye does own a business in Nederland for the last 20 years and has contributed quite a bit to the tax base here in Nederland. And she's skilled in the art of research, and she was able to put together the election summary in I don't know how many days. I shudder to think of what the bill from Jennifer Madsen is going to be to review all that Kathleen already provided it for her. It's all listed for her. It took me a couple hours to understand it. There doesn't seem to be any cap on what the attorneys can bill and what she can receive. And with the changeover to the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, the town had some extra money, which apparently is going to staff and the attorney. I was very concerned at the last meeting when the principal of the elementary school, Caleb Melamed, presented a very graphic description of a dust problem in Big Springs. And the response he got from Miranda was, well, we just don't have the budget for it. I was talking to Billy the other day and I said, can't we limit the amount of money we're spending on this attorney? Well, he didn't want to talk about it. And that's kind of, having been coming to these meetings since about 1990, I find that there's a change. I don't feel like people are as honest anymore about representing. I feel like, for example, Jesse, you were answering the gentleman's questions. You didn't mention that a very strong argument was made for a different location, the ice rink. For example, the pump track. This was hotly debated before. We have a whole body of testimony on that. We should, I've been advocating and asking, even offering to work to set it up, a place on the town webpage where you not only can give your comments, you can see what other comments have been. So for example, on the pump track, you would have archived the discussions. The Old Town Shop, I live over by the Old Town Shop. Oh, our youngest member is gone home, but I've been saying at many meetings, why not put a basketball hoop up at the Old Town Shop? You know, what, we can't afford it? Because we're spending, Miranda, how much money have we spent on the attorney so far this year, ballpark? Give or take 10,000.
About 35,000.
35,000 total? So if I were to go through the warrants for the last 6 months, it would be 30,000?
But I would like to add that many of those are, some of that is pass-through costs that's covered under escrow related to land use applications. So the way the financials would look on the warrants is just the total amount paid to the attorney.
No, actually, in the warrants, it's broken down.
It does show the escrow, but the total that you'll see at the bottom, if I add all those up, it's
Yeah.
35,000.
Well, for last month, it was 9,600 excluding the escrow. Because I noted that was an additional 500. Another thing, you know, I think Susan Wagner made the comment that public engagement is actually not the same as community engagement. Some of us were hoping that the new position that Peter occupies would be to do that kind of thing, doing some of the archiving. I understand he's been real busy. I look forward to seeing what you've come up with. I hope you'll be able to factor that in at some point, because we spend so much time going round and round. And the Envision 2030 thing, the question came back, and I've been hearing it for 30 years. Why don't we have boating on Barker? So you might want to have an informational tab, boating on Barker, why we don't do it, right? I mean, there's a reason that we don't do it. Now, as part of public engagement or community engagement, we have our parks and we have our front desk. And this past weekend, my daughter was throwing a little birthday party for her twins. And her friend called town hall to see if she could reserve or needed to reserve Chipeta Park for, forget whether it was Saturday or Sunday, probably Saturday, I don't remember. Anyway, I guess she didn't get through the first couple times. She left a message the second time, still didn't get a response. Called back a third time. I think she said she spoke with a man, a younger man, and he said, no, you can't reserve the park and nothing more. So because we were only about 20 people, my daughter's friend went down to the park to start laying the food out, and there was a big party down there with a band, sound system, food truck. All the parking was taken.
Oh, yeah.
So I was curious what happened there.
So I did talk with her, and she asked if she could, I talked with her on, I don't remember what day, it was like Wednesday or Thursday, I want to say. And she was asking if she could reserve it. I told her we already had an event reserved from 9 to 5. And she asked if they could take part of the parking lot. I said, or not parking lot, but part of the field. I said, it is going to be a larger event. It was a 30th anniversary of an association, and that they were going to have a estimated 50 plus people or so. So like technically the reservations for the pavilions, so it's not everything, but we can't guarantee that just because we're not there constantly to monitor it. So I told her, yes, they do have it reserved. You can go check, but I can't make any promises.
Okay, well, she didn't get that at all. So miscommunication, I guess. So I guess in closing, I would just say that I would like to hear comments discussed that are, people spend a lot of time writing up comments for the board. And then I come to a meeting or I listen to it afterwards and I don't hear any discussion of what's been brought up and I don't hear it brought up again. So the impression that I'm getting more and more from the town is that you're not representing, you're representing what you think. You're representing your ideas because you don't bring into the dialogue what other people are saying. I'm not hearing it. And I think that's a fundamental problem that's been evolving over the years, and we're following in that footstep. So I've given you a lot there. Thank you.
Thanks, May.
I
Thanks, May.
do want to mention, you mentioned wanting to have a place for comments and things on the town website. When we talk about Engage Nederland, our engagement platform later, that will be on there. And currently the pump track isn't on there, but I'm hoping to have it up by the end of the week, and then we can start getting public comments. And those will live and people can see them. They can even comment on comments. And one thing I want to start doing is collating those before every board trustee meeting and just doing kind of a quick report. Here's what we're getting comments on. And yeah.
And the one thing that I can comment on is in regards to Big Springs. And so I did meet with Mark Hall, the streets manager, and just kind of evaluated where are there opportunities to maybe free up some funding to finish that. It's about 3/10 of a mile that needs to get the rest of Big Springs Drive. And so we did secure that. At the same time, we secured estimates for the visitor center parking lot. We also asked all those contractors to look at Big Springs Drive and ask for that submission as well. And we'll use streets funds to finish that. And so Mark did communicate with the Malamets, let them know that this is in addition to dust suppressant and other mitigation, but that we were actively working on hopefully securing estimates that are ideally reasonable enough that we can afford to make that happen within the current streets budget.
Also, made suggestion for boating on Barker. There has been former discourse on, why that isn't the degree until something changes. That could be another potential, thing.
Yeah, I agree that we should just have a spot even just on the main page where it's just like, want to do something at Barker? Here are the rules, right?
Right. Right. And if you are found with a kayak, this is what will happen. Right. So yeah, it is what it is today. Jesse, the comment from May about there was a strong argument made for the ice rink. That was discussed in the last meeting in terms of why this particular location was chosen versus up near the ice rink. And didn't know if you wanted to articulate that. I don't believe Nikki's on, but if you could speak to that.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. Yeah, great points, May. I definitely appreciate the suggested location. I think that would be a fine alternate location. I think the Chipeta Park location is better at this point, for a number of reasons that I'll lay out here. And one, initially that was Nikki's suggestion. I thought it was a fine suggestion at the time, and as I started looking into it more and more, I can kind of just continue to agree. So there's several reasons why this is a great location for a pump track. One, that's a spot where families already gather and play, and kids are already learning to ride their balance bikes right there on the basketball court. That was one. These are all things that Nikki has relayed to me and to those of us who had gathered there, exploring different areas of town that could be suitable for bicycle-friendly infrastructure. And so Nikki pointed that out, that kids are learning there. Wouldn't it be a great stepping stone for these kids to be able to learn and master their balance bike on the flat basketball court and then advance over to the pump track? Furthermore, that area is in disrepair right now. The irrigation system is completely defunct and needs a complete overhaul, which is going to be a big investment if nothing were to be done there anyway. Also, maintaining a lawn also has maintenance costs. It's also at a low point and a central point in town, so it's easy for kids to ride their bikes there. Putting it up at the ice skating rink would basically prohibit 80% of all the kids from being able to ride their bikes there, which kind of defeats the purpose of having a bicycle-friendly asset to the town. So it's also centrally located for the businesses, and will attract families to the area who will then, and also keep families in the area. I myself went down to Valmont last weekend with my family to go enjoy the pump track and the bicycle trails down there, and talked to several other families who left town to go enjoy some of the recreational facilities on Father's Day weekend. And this is a great opportunity to keep our local families here, give them something to do that's bicycle friendly, fitness friendly, and yeah, I think those are the arguments. And it's already been assessed and evaluated by a design company that said it's a great location. It's ample, and we can do it in such a way that it could really be a marvelous benefit to the landscape.
Yeah, because Nikki said to us that she would prefer it in that location because she feels it's an unused part of the park for the most part. And if you actually sat there and looked at the park, it doesn't get a whole lot of use.
Correct. And we are talking about the area. Oh, it also has parking already. And we are talking about the area that is in between the basketball court and the parking area, not the beautiful lawn over by the covered pavilion there. And so it's the part in between the basketball court and the parking lot.
Did you have any other comments, May?
Jesse brought up the fact that I guess the park is in disrepair. Shouldn't that be addressed? maybe people don't go down there because it is in disrepair.
Well, I said just the irrigation system in that region where we're talking about putting
But
the pump tracks.
it's an issue that needs to be addressed.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And again, I just don't like crowding the park with something that's going to be used maybe 3 months out of the year, subtracting bad weather. And again, it's going to require public funding, no matter what you say. It's gonna
Absolutely,
Require
yeah.
public funding. And all I ask is put it before the people. Do you want a pump track in Chipeta Park? And it should be a yes or no answer. And we'll see what the people say. I just don't think it should be crammed through, and I see it being crammed through. That picture that I see on Netheads, that is totally misrepresentative of what you're trying to build.
I haven't seen the picture.
That, are you there? I
Bring,
can't-
bring it up if you have a chance on whatever the picture is. And then I just want to make sure that I reflect back to May what it is that we heard. Some of the suggestions you wanted was to discuss the comments that are written into the BOT packets, because we often were required to read those, we read them, but what you're saying is, hey, make reference back to those comments as a part of the dialogue. Did I capture that correctly? Okay. The other thing was there was a request for us to consider as a part of Peter's role of archiving the documents. Did I hear that correctly? Okay. Put boating on Barker as a part of the website and suggest a basketball court. This would be something, you know, for the town shop site.
But there is one at Chipeta and at the elementary school.
But regardless, you're suggesting some sort of pocket park, so a park entity in that area.
How about a pump track?
Okay.
I couldn't help myself.
I wanted to comment about the lawyer. I asked her about that expense
This is still.
and I got the budget.
Madeline Webster
And she
State
said,
Hold on, Jean,
Jeannie and Jesse, move away from the.
or turn off the mic.
yeah, I just want to say that she's on budget. She spent about 50% of our annual budget and we're about halfway through the year. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me, a budget of $76,000 for a lawyer. They have to be there to write all the ordinances. And it's just an important part of a town. And she's not off budget. I mean, I asked her, I was concerned about the letter, I think it was Kathleen or you had written to us. And it didn't seem unreasonable to me to be 50% of the way through our budget, 50% of the year. Yeah, I think that was last year, most of that. I'm not sure when the budget's, I'm pretty sure that was last year's budget, but am I wrong? Was it last summer's last
Yeah,
year, right?
I recall that the David sites all fell last year.
Yeah. And then all the comments are in the package and I mean, behind the scenes, I will tell you, we do send letters back and forth to each other and comment, and things do occur because of letters. The meetings are usually pretty packed. And if you wanted us to acknowledge that we got these letters, we could certainly do that, but believe me, we read them. They're in the package. Anybody who takes the time to go through the package can see them. I'm sure Peter could put them up on a website under a tab of letters that people could look at, but. Well, we do though. I mean, and.
But the request is to make it transparent and public, right? Is to acknowledge, hey, this was written in, these were the points that were made. That's what you want, is the acknowledgement. Yeah. Oh, to see the reaction. Oh, you want our reaction? We can do the
That-
reactions.
Yeah, I mean, that's generally going to happen at the meeting. I mean, I think that's the one thing when we talked the other day that for me, I felt like we could act on more, was just making a point to or at least acknowledge or reference the written comments. Sometimes when they're conflicting, you can only spend so much time on them, because if you do one and do the other, you're doing two opposite things at once. So but I think we could do a better job of acknowledging them and then folding them into what we say. But I mean, yeah, maybe you don't like that I just said that, but we can't make everyone happy. Sometimes it seems like if we don't agree with the comment, that's where you come back and say, oh, you're not giving public engagement. Agreement is not public engagement. You know, they're not the same.
I just want to say, I don't think it's acknowledgement that I'm looking at it for. I'm looking for representative government instead of the fiefdom approach that was in effect before your term, where, you know, it's kind of like, yeah, you listen to people because you have to. If you have to, you'll say, yeah, I heard you, I don't agree with you. Next. I mean, I remember in years past when somebody took the time to come to a meeting or make a comment, that their comment was discussed. I have not heard a discussion, for example, on the alternate location. What are the benefits? What are the drawbacks? To fully consider the pump track, you must have that discussion. You must refer back to some of the old stuff, and you must wrap your heads around. Think about how much we're putting out now per day. I'm not a numbers person, but I'm enough of a numbers person that I would say if our budget, for example, is 3.65 million, then we have a pretty big per day operating expense, correct? In the thousands of dollars. An election costs what? A couple thousand?
Approximately 3,000.
$3,000. That's too, well, there's a lot of ways that you can look at it, but maybe you need to make a line item in the budget once a year. We refer measures to the voters. You give a lot of lip service. We want public engagement. We tell you what we need. We need posters. We need this, we need that. We don't get them. So because we don't have public engagement, public community engagement, we can't even put up a poster without a new line item. Let's just admit that people are not staying informed, and let them decide at the ballot box, make it a line item. I think also on big issues on the webpage, and I look forward to Peter's presentation, but I know in some of these other towns, he said you'd reference some of these other towns, when you have a big issue, like the pump track, like the IGA that's coming up, what should we ask for? What should we not ask for? That you get somebody up there, like the Blue Book in an election thing, to make an argument for the pump track in Chipeta Park. We've heard that now a couple times, but we have not heard the discussion of the alternate location. And I think people get tired of coming to meetings because they may represent a sizable group of people that do oppose something that's being proposed. For example, dropping the IGA, as you saw at that town hall that we had at the library. A lot of people didn't even know that was happening. People are getting further and further away from taking part in the town. And then we have these massive catastrophes that happen from time to time. And we lose face with our funding sources because the town can't agree, because the town didn't know, and we keep going around and around. So I absolutely agree. The election is the answer. And if you cannot find $3,000 in the budget for an election, then I truly worry about how we can be staffing a position to bring more tourists to town or tell them how to do our town, which I think is a really inappropriate reference. How can we have money for that and not have money for an election? I don't get it.
Thanks, May. Also, just to clarify, the tourism is to manage the people that are already coming here, right? Yeah, that's okay.
I just want to, so Jean did share with me the image. So this is actually a post from December 2022 that somehow seems to be popping back up into the world. It is, so the post actually talks a bit about how, you know, join us, help us identify town properties. It's back when the pump track conversation first started before ProSab 6 months ago.
Oh, very nice.
But there's no way to control the Facebook algorithm. So the downfall is this pops up like it's new, but it's from
I
2022.
will point out that that's the ProSab seal on that picture.
Correct. So this is back in,
Then that picture is totally misrepresentative of what is being proposed.
yeah, so
It's false.
it would require Jessie Ansari, the former ProSep chair, to take it down since she is the author of this post.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that feedback. So yeah, this is where having these types
Using
of,
ProSab seal on there.
So she was the ProSep chair. So this was a ProSep post back in December 2022.
It's still being used today.
right. All right, that's good.
So we should tell Jesse to take it down because if people comment on it, it comes back up.
Sorry, but who is it being used by today?
So I guess it's showing up back on the NetHeads feed as coming across like a new post.
Yeah, if someone comments on an old post, it pushes it to the top of the page. and
Right, but I
then-
want to clarify that the town is not using it
No,
and the ProSab board is not using it.
Correct. This is a post by an independent person, Jessie Ansari. There are no comments. The comments are turned off. So, but there was someone who somehow, she must have just turned it off because to Jean's point, 2 days ago, people started commenting on this post, which brought it back to the top as coming across like a new post.
May I have a question? Are you advocating we have elections for any GoCo grant that we go for or any tip grant, like the sidewalk grants, like any major project that would require town land use or town money being put in, that should go for election? Anything major, like what would be the financial or acreage that you would want an I'm just trying to understand what exactly you're asking for.
like what's the threshold?
Yeah.
That triggers the.
So,
election?
if we want a GoCo grant to fix the ice skating rink, that should go before the voters? Or what we're thinking about doing with the sidewalk to the RTD, that's old news. It's we can't change that now, but something of that scope, if we wanted to fix things in town that require grants and that would require matching grant, where we have to kick in 100,000, that should go before the voters. That sounds good to me. I'm just curious if that's what you're saying.
Come up to the mic so we can all hear you.
It would slow the processes down, but it already is slow, as Jean said, so.
Yeah, and I think we need more of a flow chart in our planning. For example, I think we just committed to $100,000 for a new comprehensive plan. I would have been curious if this had been put to a vote by the people. Have you seen the old comprehensive plan? Do you think it needs to be modified? Would you rather spend, I don't know what the question would be, but yeah, we're spending quite a bit of money on that. I think at this point, everybody I talk to says, why can't we fix the roads? Why can't we interact with CDOT? I think the general consensus is the town is kind of like Julius Caesar, expanding into areas with a rotten core when it comes to infrastructure. And then literally the downtown that Ron's been trying to develop for ever so long. So, Tanya, I think that's a really interesting question. What would the trigger be? I think,
Is it money?
I think change of use for a public property, for example, there have been ideas of putting housing on the town shop site. Maybe give people a choice. Would you rather see, housing, the change of use?
But I'm sorry to interrupt, but wasn't that land given to town for housing? I thought that
No.
was a stipulation in the gift of the land. No?
That's not
Miranda?
right.
No? No, I don't know where I heard that.
There's a
That's
lot of,
town parcel.
there's a lot of confusion about that parcel, and Peter, I have a lot of that that's already been drawn together. I mean, there had even showed up on a map at one point as having had the zoning changed before your time. And the hearing was never held, so they had to change the map back. So there's been a lot of history there. But change of use for public place, the expenditure maybe of over a certain amount of money for a project, perhaps. I like the way you're thinking about it.
I was just curious because I know like performance-based, that would probably require a big grant. But a lot of people would probably say no to it because they don't want noise or people in town because they live on First Street and they want it quiet. A lot of people would say yes. So I think in the end, would you just scratch a whole really good idea because of a vote lost by 10 votes? Because our elections are so small.
Well,
I mean, and so then I'm all for this idea. I'm just curious, I could see elections being really close.
Well, I agree with him, whatever the people decide. And I heard a little bit of this kind of talk at the meeting about the annexation triggered vote. Well, what if we had a 10.3 acre thing and everybody wanted it? And why would we go through the expense of an election? And well, for one thing, because the comp plan says, growth from within. So already you have a bunch of people that aren't going to want it. But what if, I really kind of was irritated by that. It's like saying, what if the fire station gets hit by a comet? Maybe we need to build another one. What if,
That's pretty different. if
I don't
Mayor
think
May.
so.
Sorry, you're kind of going out off
doing
the.
the what if game?
Well, no, I'm not doing the what if game. I know I didn't say the high school wants to be annexed or the county for whatever's in the district wants to be annexed. There's not a lot of pushback on that. It's something that people want. So, it's, sure, I was talking about what ifs, but I wasn't kind of talking about comments.
May, if we could ask for your feedback and your ideas around what that threshold might be, I think that would be a good conversation starter, right? So if you have maybe some time over the next couple of weeks, if you can kind of put some more thought to that, I would welcome that insight.
Thanks.
Thank
I will
you.
say, if we do have time to get to it today, we were hoping to talk about home rule versus statutory, which indeed might touch on this, so.
Awesome. Is there anyone else in the room? Kat, were you wanting to speak? No? Okay. Jean, I gotta move to the folks that are online. And if there's any time at the end, it's yours, homie, okay? No, don't even try. Don't even try. All right, I've got to bat them down in here, okay? Because they're scratching at the walls wanting to do some more comments. So let me get these guys first and then we'll come back to you, okay?
So Tanya had her hand up first and then Dan, you'll go after Tanya.
All right, excellent. So we've got Dan, we've got Tanya. Tanya, could you please go ahead and go first?
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you. Go for it.
Thank you. My name is Tanya Unger. I've been a 12-year resident of the Peak to Peak region, a majority of that in Nederland. You may remember the BOT meeting where I spoke out on behalf of schizoaffectives, what might happen to us were we to lose our police department. I would like to say that I have been homeless in the town. And right now I'm really using my inner anger management tools to not be upset when I hear things, Nicole, like some people say homelessness is a problem, some people don't. I get that that's a fact. I have met homeless children. Just this last week, I had a conversation with a child who was newly housed and is worried about him and his mom being evicted because they have a cat. One child, one person, one family is enough to constitute a homeless problem. I would like for homelessness to have as much time at the table as a pump track. That said, I think that these conversations do need outside mediation, so that, and a little bit better structure, so we can go and have people voice concerns topic to topic and not have one thing dominate the conversation. I would also like to point out that I cannot be in the room because I cannot drive, as I have a seizure disorder and am still living couch hopping. I am now going to be housed July 1, and that has nothing to do with the help of the town of Nederland or Boulder County. This is because the newspaper got an ad for somebody who needs to go get cancer treatments in Ohio and needed a subletter. So there definitely is room for government to help people find resources to get housed. Lastly, I'd like to say that as a volunteer, I did a significant amount of pounding the pavement to increase the response on housing. So, and I'm proud of that, and I'm grateful that people did respond. But a lot of people who think it's not an issue, and a lot of consultants who are getting paid to work on it, go home. They have a shower. They have a place to cook. They're not on food stamps that don't let you get warm food. Housing is a problem, and I would really appreciate it if the BOT members would acknowledge that and not say, some people say it is, some people say it isn't. It is.
Thanks, Tanya. Yeah, the feedback where there is a suggestion that there isn't a problem has come from residents. So that's not the personal, that is not the perspective, I would say, of the BOT or town staff. This is feedback from town residents that suggests that we don't have a housing problem or a homeless problem. And this is why we're trying to prove that with some of this housing data survey. This has not come from the consultants at all, just to clarify.
Okay, I appreciate that. And yet I think we need a mediator on this topic, because this way that you're hearing me is making me very angry and feeling marginalized. I too am a resident. I just don't have a roof. So you're also getting the feedback that this homeless resident who is a lecturer at CU Boulder and had to have a second job as a restaurant worker and a third job as a housekeeper and a fourth job with the newspaper has been unhoused.
Exactly. And that's why your voice.
I don't need any more repetition. I just need you to hear that, and that's enough.
Yep, understood.
Can I say one thing, ask one thing? When you say a mediator, you mean in these town halls or whenever we discuss the subject, or in these town halls that you would prefer a mediator and more structure like topic to topic?
In these town halls, Billy, we had a conversation on Saturday morning, and Tom was a part of that. I'm sorry that you couldn't make this second one with Bernard Amadei, but we did discuss the town need for mediation and what the town is doing around that. And I believe that these discussions require a mediator in order to help bridge this gap between the residents and the town. Representation.
Okay, and so acknowledging homelessness as a problem, structuring, as you were just talking about, from topic to topic, and having a mediator. And then that there's room for, was there anything else on the structure, on the topic to topic, besides having a mediator? Was there anything that you were suggesting in terms of that structure that we could, that's something that we can implement tomorrow or whatnot? You know, was there anything around that?
So I would say this, start with a priority. What has had enough time, pump track may be lower on the list in the future. Housing may be higher on the list. Infrastructure needs of the town, pipelines bursting, needing to have roads fixed, parking lots fixed. Put it in a priority listing and let people talk on those topics, and then move to the next topic. I've been sitting here waiting to talk about something like this for this long. We're an hour and 23 minutes into this meeting to talk about me being homeless while a pump track has been battered about, and this happens at the BOT meetings too. My apologies, I'm heated. I don't want to talk anymore. I gotta step out.
Okay, so
Thanks for your time.
and just a clarification in terms of the schedule, Miranda, in terms of what we prioritize, is that dictated by any type of statute or code?
It is not, in terms of that, you're talking about the regular Board of Trustees
Right.
agenda. So as the town administrator, I offer a recommendation to the mayor and typically acknowledge that if there's any sort of third party that's coming, really being mindful of that time, especially, of course, if it's consultants and some consultants' time. And so that is how we've always historically kind of structured many things, is are there guests who are coming, and then allowing staff to remain. But if there's any third party, typically, but Mayor Billy has the authority to rearrange that if, as he sees fit.
Okay, great. Okay, and then I can follow up later with you, Tanya, on one of my last questions. I'll follow up through email. As you stated, you're done talking. Okay, so now next was Dan. Is Dan still on?
Hi there.
This is Dan.
Can
Okay.
everyone hear me?
Hello, Dan. Go for it.
Hi. First off, absolutely agree with Tanya. It feels a little trite to even show up supporting recreation in the town when others in our community are struggling. So I just want to make that acknowledgement right out of the bat that as much support as I'm providing towards recreation, I'm happy to be reciprocal as a resident towards anyone struggling with homelessness, food, shelter, otherwise. Yeah, and absolutely. On that note, agree. I'm thrilled to hear that Peter has the engagement tool presentation later this evening, and really looking forward to that as a resident, just to see how get the pulse of the community as well, and just see public comment. I think that will be really helpful to just have a bit more transparency as a resident on what everyone is concerned with, for those of us that don't use social media in town. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to stump for the pump track as well as trail expansion in town. I moved up here just over 3 years ago when my wife and I's jobs went remote, and we specifically moved to Ned after mountain biking in the area for the last 15 years. And when we had the chance to go remote with our jobs, we took our life up here and we started a family because we wanted to raise our kids in a place that really supported outdoor recreation through, having access to Eldora, having access to the schools in Boulder County, as well as out our back door mountain biking. We live by the ice rink, and I can tell you that as a resident of this neighborhood, it is very challenging to get into this neighborhood. So I am a big supporter of keeping the access downtown, because the road crossings to get to Sunnyside are very dangerous. You have to cross the peak to peak. There's no crosswalk. There's no stairs, sidewalks. Otherwise, the roads are unpaved and incredibly steep. So it's challenging to get up here. And I would like to see, if the town is putting resources towards this, that it's in a very central location that's very accessible for everyone on the peak to peak, as well as, visitors from other parts of the state. So in any case, yeah, I really just, wanted to give back to the community in a civic capacity by showing up and saying, hey, myself and many others that have come to this area, we moved here for the mountain biking. We're raising families here because we want our kids to be in a place with good access to the outdoors and access to sports like this that I didn't have when I grew up and had to get into them later on in life. This is a sport that's only gaining more popularity. And I think by providing access to things like, pump tracks in the park, like trail expansion, that keeps the activity centered in, primary use areas, and, lowers the traffic on multi-use trails where we can create friction points with other residents and other people that are trying to enjoy, Mud Lake or West Mag or, other areas that, are multi-use in nature. So, mountain biking specific terrain is very important, especially when people are learning, in my mind. In terms of funding, I think there's tons of access to grants from IMBA, BMA, and other associations throughout the world and country where we can find sources of funding. Happy to participate, whether it's, picking up shovels or writing grants for the town to make sure that we get access for our kids and for other residents that want to learn so that they can participate in these activities. Similar to Simba getting the large grant of bicycles in recent years, I'm here to support other people getting access to these sports and activities like climbing, skiing, mountain biking, hiking, and everything else. So anyway, happy to answer any questions, but really thrilled that it's getting attention, and really wanted to make sure that it was known that there are many people that have moved to this area that just don't show up to the meetings. And I won't stop pushing on my neighbors and friends to answering surveys and turning out to vote if it makes its way onto a ballot.
Yes, Dan, and if you've got other ideas on how we engage folks more, I'm not sure, you said that you're up in Sunnyside?
Yeah.
I don't know if we have a Sunnyside distro list. I don't think we do.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, this might be something that we tap you on the shoulder and ask you for some help on.
Yeah, happy to.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What kind of list?
like just an email list, like like a distribution list.
Specific
y-
to Sunnyside.
Just specific to Sunnyside. And,
Mhm.
this is different neighborhoods around the town of making sure that we've got some of that information updated and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm thrilled that the Board of Trustees is really, prioritizing recreation more, especially as that's the reason that, we moved to town and, we're trying our best to keep our capital in the town through keeping our shopping at, B&F and the co-op and as much as possible, in the farmer's market.
Thanks for your comments, Dan. Are
Thank you for the
there?
time.
Yes. So I don't know that you had any specific questions or suggestions other than,
Yeah, I
Here's
really
the
just, voicing my support
Okay.
for these initiatives and, as well as keeping, these things in accessible areas. While I love the neighborhood I live in, it's challenging to get to. That could be a whole nother subject. Maybe I'll attend a different meeting to talk about that. But
Agreed.
yeah, I would say keep it as central as possible with plenty of parking.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else online that wants to make a comment? Okay, I waited 7 seconds to see if anybody would raise their hand or speak. So with that, we have a new attendant, but are you interested in making a public comment? No? Are you sure you're going to be quiet? What? It's Caleb.
Pace yourself, Caleb.
It's rare that she does, but
There is no 3-minute time limit, so.
yeah, it's
That
the
entices
town
you.
hall. You can go as long as you want, so. But you said no. Okay, we're moving on. So with that, what I want to do is, Peter, if you're ready to go ahead and show what this Engagement HQ, this is the new portal website experience that Peter has been working on in order, and he's been breaking it out by topics, and even some of the topics that we've talked about tonight, hey, boating on Barker, that might be a topic, or the pump track might be a topic. Homelessness might be a topic, right? And making sure that it's in one centralized area that's accessible for folks to get to. And so with that, if you want to share your screen, we can see what that looks like.
Yeah, definitely.
And please, if you've got comments or thoughts or whatnot, we'll please raise your hand afterward, and we'll make sure to call on you so that we can see what you have to say.
All right. So this entire idea came from the community engagement section of the Envision 2030 project, which was done in 2021. For those that weren't aware, it was a number of community partners that got together to focus on various topics to help envision where our town would go in the next 10 years. And this is one of those. I've been referencing that document for a while to see how things that I've already been working on and future projects can apply to that. So this is a soft launch of the engagement platform, Engage.
Peter, you're showing the town website.
Yes, I know.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay.
This is what we call a preview. I don't know. So you can actually go to this now yourself by going to the town website and scrolling down to the first row of buttons. There is now a new 5th button called Engage Nederland next to the Contact Us button. And that will take you to Engage Nederland. And this is what this looks like. So this is through Engagement HQ, which is a part of Granicus. They do a lot of municipal and tech website stuff. This is actually the same platform that a number of cities such as Boulder, Longmont, I think Estes has one. A lot of municipalities have this platform, and they use it to engage with their community. Like was mentioned earlier, this is going to be a one-stop shop where we can put all current important projects that people can get current information on, and as well as accessing old projects through the archive once we have projects to archive. What makes this different than just having a website or a town page that's dedicated to it is it will have ways for residents to leave their feedback that we can tailor to the various projects. Right now, there are 4 projects on here, plus this Ask a Nederland little box, which is basically a general Q&A comment, and once we get some more questions, there will be an FAQ. So when you click on a project, it will have a little description of what the project is, a sidebar with various topics or documents, or for projects, a timeline and the people that are part of that timeline that you can contact directly. And at the bottom, you will see different things that you can do, such as leaving a question or using this guest book feature to just leave a comment. If you don't have anything specific that you want to ask, that will just automatically go up, whereas questions will be left, will be sent to us, we can answer them, and then they will show up here automatically. Go back to the front page. You can sign up to get information on everything, or you can tailor your experience by subscribing to certain projects. So if you're more interested in the Gershio project or the Wetlands or the pump track, which is not on here yet, but once I have that done, we'll go up hopefully by the end of the week. You can subscribe by going to that project, and there's a little subscribe thing next to it. So using the Gershio project as an example, we have basic topic, our project overview, and underneath it, the various project updates that you can comment on. And these will get updated as I get that information from the project managers. This one in particular is led by our parks manager, Nikki. I've also included who I think is representative of the project. Jesse is the Parks, Recreation, Open Space Board liaison, so I have him attached to this as well as me, just because I am the public engagement manager. I should be available for all of these things. You can see various documents that go with the project, and a space for questions specific to Gershio Field. These all get sent to us directly, so I don't need to go hunting and to see if anything is in there. And yeah, we can just answer them immediately as we see them, similar to our contact us page currently on the website. So this is kind of bare bones for right now, as we've just started getting this underway. Oh yeah, I added a little section for upcoming events and things. Right now it's just some of the special events that are happening in town, but I'm hoping to use this for future public engagement, town halls, or other important meetings that need to happen as well.
Peter, can you go click on the streets one? Because I think
Yes.
that's a one that we get a lot of questions about.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So this has all of the information about the various grants and how they're being applied or will be applied in the future. I'm not going to go through everything here. I would like everyone to go peruse this when they have a second and sign up and ask questions and leave various questions and comments. You can see the various documents, and the life cycle is tentative and will change as things become more solidified with the various grants themselves. And as you can see, there is a lot there. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I was just scrolling around. So I'm not sure how it looks on a cell phone right now, so it might be at the bottom. But if you're not seeing them, then I might need to change something on my end. Okay, great.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a nice spot for all the historical information. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very excited about this. Another feature that isn't being shown on here right now that we can utilize is a built-in newsletter feature. So we can create newsletters that are attached to various topics that you can subscribe to. So if you're only interested in parks or in housing, we can create newsletters that are tailored to those. So you're not getting bogged down with things that may not be relevant to you or to your interests. But that is something to work on once we get all of the projects live.
This is super cool, Peter.
Yeah, it looks great.
Very impressed.
Yeah, if there are any questions on it right now, I'm happy to answer those or get
Questions
more
or
clarifying.
comments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I just encourage everyone to start exploring it and tell me where it needs some work and what you like about it and what you want to see.
I did just ask a question through the ask a question system.
Yay!
Well, I don't know.
He
I
hasn't
didn't get
gotten
an
an
answer.
yet.
Easy was it to do it?
It seemed pretty easy. And the question was, is there a way to automatically subscribe to all projects
Yes. So
rather than going through each one individually and pressing subscribe?
yes, when you sign up, I believe there's an option for it. Since I'm working on this on the back end, there's some things that are just automatic for me that wouldn't be for the user experience. So I need to go through and
Yeah, I'm not
Look at
seeing
it.
that
Okay.
option anywhere, but I also might just be missing it. But if I can't find it, I bet others couldn't find it as well.
and that might be something I can activate on the back end as an option. So I will look into that tomorrow morning.
Awesome. A suggestion for the streets, because that is something that we do get a lot of questions about. One, I think it's super helpful as a visual. If we've got a map of Nederland and we can highlight where a particular grant is going to affect.
I like that. There is a map feature that I've been playing with. It allows people to put pins similar to, no one's going to see this because it's in draft mode.
Sure.
Except when you're looking at my screen. It allows users to place pins. I was hoping to use it as a way to be like, hey, is there like an issue? Drop a pin here. But then I found out there's no way for me to delete the pins.
So perpetual issues.
But I might be able to use it as a way to showcase where each individual project will be. And people can comment on those specific projects through
Right.
the map.
Yeah, and even if you don't use this map feature, having an image that highlights the street or the road of what it's being affected, and then also, even if it's an estimated date of completion, at least an estimate, right? So as Jean found out today, the repaving of, some of the visitor center, July and August, right? Those are going to be ongoing questions, and the more that we can put that in front of folks, the better.
And that's actually going to show up here tomorrow.
Groovy.
Under the project updates.
Awesome.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Peter, is there a way to do a survey question or a petition
Yes.
question on there or a vote?
Yeah, so we can put surveys, we can put voting on there. We can also do kind of mini quick surveys on this sidebar as well. So those are all tools. I also plan to put together a more interactive video that I can share, just going through what everything is capable of.
Like how to use the
Yep.
the site for folks
Mhm.
just coming on for the first time.
Yeah.
Got it.
Can I also ask, I imagine comments
Mhm.
will show up for everyone to see?
Yes, comments are public.
And will they be moderated in any way?
Yes, so there is automatic moderation through Granicus
Mhm.
on this. We can also tailor how much we want someone to go through before they can comment. I could turn off signups to let someone comment, but that kind of leaves it open to any kind of spam. So right now I have it where you need to sign up before you can comment on something. But certain things, maybe we don't need that on. We're just looking for, you know, people to share their Nederland stories, for instance. That might just be something we just leave it open. But there is always 24-hour monitoring through the platform.
And is that it's automatic monitoring in the sense that it will
Yeah,
like
there's-
automatically filter
Yeah,
certain kinds of language, I imagine.
yeah, there's automated monitoring, and there's also for various things it gets kicked over to a person
It
to
does,
look at.
okay.
Yeah.
Great. Is there a way of flagging comments by other users or just from your?
I don't know
your end?
yet because we don't have any comments.
Okay.
So, but I believe there is a way to report it. I would be surprised if there wasn't.
Great.
Any other questions or comments? Kayla, you might as well come up. Come on. Yeah,
Or
you got
can
it.
just
Yeah,
do
we
it,
got
I
to
can
hear you.
repeat it. Yeah. I see Tanya's hand is up too. Do you have a?
Kayla Evans at 1250 Eldora Road. Hi, everybody. It's nice to be back. I just have a couple questions, Peter.
Sure.
Number one, this is very rudimentary, but how are people supposed to know about this?
I'm going to get the word out. Like I said, this is a
Okay,
soft
that
launch.
was a really broad sentence. I'm going to get the word out.
Yeah. So this is a soft launch. I just wanted to kind of share it and get it out into the world today. But I intend to not just share it on our social medias and things, but I want to put out flyers to kind of tell people about it and direct them to the site itself. Plus, I also think having it on the very front of our main website where people can just click on it and learn a bit more about it.
I think communication has always been
Yes.
a hard problem in this community because you can get certain groups and certain
Yeah.
groups get lost. The other one is if you are not, I was thinking of a couple that just moved back here. They stay here about 8 months out of the year and then they're gone. They are very not computer savvy.
Mhm.
How does one engage in the community if that is the only?
I don't intend that to be the only way. It's just the next tool in our tool belt. So I want to be doing more of these kinds of things and also just being open to having direct conversations with people. You know, I want to, you know, have people be able to just email or call me. I now have a work cell phone number, so that's awesome. So people can call me basically whenever to just facilitate those kinds of conversations.
Also, you said there's a newsletter function.
Yep.
Is there an opportunity for that to be, if I sign up for a particular newsletter that I want to keep updated on, is there a possibility to mail that directly?
Maybe.
If we give you a budget? Is
If
that
I
what
have
you
a
were going to
budget.
say?
My other thought was also to consolidate and have maybe a monthly recap of newsletters in the Mountaineer.
Yep.
Just as another physical piece that people can access.
Okay, I appreciate what you're doing. I think it's great. I think there needs to be more of this. This has been something that people have talked about forever and ever and ever is how do you disseminate information in this community? And then how do you get feedback from
Mhm.
people? So there has to be as much give as there is take, and you're
But-
doing the first step. So
And
that's
I'm
great.
always looking for more options too. So
Great.
um,
Okay.
I
That's
know
the
that
question.
like we're not going to be able to hit every single resident right off the bat with anything we do. So just starting somewhere is important. So that's
Great.
been my approach.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe at the library, you could go and show some of these people who are not tech savvy
Yeah.
how to log on, help them get a username, show them how it's done so they can come to the library whenever they want and do it. Or obviously they can always come to meetings and whatnot, but
Well, I like that. I think we need more workshops to kind of show off what we're doing anyways. So I really like that as an idea, as an option.
And also partnering with the library as well, and so that, you know, when Peter's not there, there are the resources available to help folks out.
We can also I'm not the only person that needs to be running this. We can, if we have a community project that has people that don't work for town involved, I can create an admin login for specific projects for various people.
I'm looking at Jean to maybe run the streets one. So,
But yeah, if like the library has an initiative they want to do, you know, we can have Electra or whoever from the library have access to that project on here. So they would also get, you know, the comments directly emailed to them and they can respond to things themselves. So it doesn't, we don't need to just hold on to it ourselves. It's something
Yep.
we can share. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we have a hand raised. Tanya, do you have your hand raised to comment on the portal?
Yes, I do.
Okay, go for it.
Peter, I think this is a really great job, and I'm not sure if it already exists somewhere on the website, but this would be a beautiful place if you are a new resident to have a map that showcases the bounds of the library district, the DDA, all of those kinds of things. And maybe they link in from other places already on the site, but I would put that on a to-do list down the road, new to Nederland, with all of our resources through this engagement portal.
It is on my list.
Great.
It keeps getting pushed to the back for more immediate needs, but yeah, I think I agree totally.
And I would love to volunteer to help with that.
I will take you up on that.
There we go. We got another
Perfect.
one. Let's get some more.
I just want to quickly comment that I love the term engage Nederland, and I think that's potentially better than the other one that you talked about with the tourism management.
Yeah. Well, I didn't come up with that one.
Do Nederland right is what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh, that
Jesse.
one, right?
Yeah.
I like engage Nederland. I think that sounds
Yeah.
really good, and it's action oriented in a good way.
Any other comments? Did you want to comment on something, Jean?
Yeah.
Okay, go for it. Is it regarding the website or is it something else?
Something else.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Any other comments regarding from the BOT or anyone else regarding the website? Going once. Uh-oh, we got to take her. We got to take her on the comment.
I'll just keep this real quick, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about it. But I don't see many projects, and I know you're just launching, and great job. But as you start to add things, you'll probably have to divide them into categories, and so that people can get an easy reference. Because the more you add, the more organized it has to be. And I really think upcoming strategic documents, the super IGA, the comp plan, I would have hoped that would have been one of the ones you flew up the flagpole, but I understand those might be a little more complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ones I put up there were the ones that I had immediate information to. So there's still some things that I am waiting on, like the comp plan. And then I think it's going to take a while to kind of make it look user friendly. So
Well, one thing I might suggest is just that you have like a master calendar of upcoming important discussions.
That's another good one.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That way you don't have to have the complete
Mhm.
segment, and people can kind of be watching for those.
Yeah. I'd also like to advocate to put May in charge of the comp IGA section so that you can add all the documents you want. Okay. I think, anyone online? I don't think we have any more public comments on it.
So Trustee Sterling, there's no public comment on this, but Macy just forwarded me an email from a resident who wanted to just give a comment, just a general comment.
Okay.
And I realize it's kind of late, but would love to read it into the record as he requested.
Sure, go for it.
It says, "Hello all, my name is Matthew Owens. I run a 3/2 with my 3 other family members on Ridge Road in Ned. I represent myself and my family members and many other skateboarders who feel the way I do throughout the Nederland and greater unincorporated Nederland areas. I am a skateboarder and have been since 1989. My parents owned 2 skate shops in North Carolina and Indiana throughout my childhood. My son has been skating since 2 weeks before he turned 3 and is currently working at Woodward Skateboard Camp in Pennsylvania. We have traveled 75 to 85% of the skate parks all around the state, from Salida to several in Foco to Aurora to Breck. My son and I actually skate at the Nathan Lazarus Skate Park. We have for years and have several times this year already before he left for work. I literally worked as a teenager on one of the Tim Payne's, the team of Payne Skate Park in Denver and Arvada and Golden, ramp building crews in North Carolina one summer, and have built half a dozen full-scale half pipes from scratch. I took part in a skate park advisory committee in Boulder for about 4 years ago for a neighborhood park that now exists there. Pump tracks are not worth it, and Nederland shouldn't spend money on it. Pump tracks are a neat idea. Cool, so if you bend and push at just the right times, you can keep your initial speeds and cruise around the track. Awesome. People don't take into account the energy necessary to make a few laps work, and when confronted with it, are tired out after 1 or 2 laps. That's where the fascination ends. Almost without fail, after less than 10 minutes, a skateboarder always goes back to the regular skate park, not batting another eyelash in the direction for their next several visits. They are a cool idea that is significantly more frustrating and energy depreciating in real life. After seeing at least half a dozen of these pump tracks throughout the state in several years, and noticing how the regular skate parks have lots of patrons and pump tracks typically have none, I am telling you that these tracks are a better idea than an actual practice. Please take it from someone who these things are actually geared towards. These things are waste of municipal funds that would be better appreciated by revamping the existing skate park, or expanding in another more usable way other than a pump track. A pump track will have a group of 2 to 4 for about 6 to 12 minutes at a time, about every 2 to 3 days in the summer at best. They're fun for less than 10 minutes and irrelevant after that. What a pump track will do is make the Nederland residents resentful over time towards the unused park space and spent money. And I think the resentment will fan out towards the skateboarders and others in town that never really wanted the pump track in the first place, but were forced to take it and live with it. It will put a bad taste in people's mouths for us over the wasted money and space, and many of us don't even want it. That's the thing. Ned could use the funds on a dozen of other projects at this very minute. Here's a dozen I could think of right off the top of my head. 1, pave the visitor center parking lot. 2, build a concert stage band shell at Gershio Field. 3, buy a plot of land to be used as overflow parking and rented out to Eldora or other festivals throughout the year. 4, dog park with attendants that also doubles as snow shovelers for town in the winter. 5, small business programs to help the businesses in town. 6, give business owners a tax rebate for the year to promote growth. 7, give town residents a credit on the super high water bills. 8, more municipal workers to take care of issues around town. 9, an overdose intervention and reduction program. 10, a women and minorities research program. 11, a town-sponsored scholarship program at Ned High School. And 12, actual cops to help patrol the town. I put this one last because I hate cops, but I recognize someone has to do nothing but take notes for insurance purposes when crime and accidents do occur. Please consider this, and at the town hall meeting tonight, this is my 2 cents as someone who would use the facility more than most of you.
Thanks, Miranda, for catching that. Any comments from BOT on that particular comment?
Yeah, just, I mean, I don't think I said it as clearly as I was thinking it a couple weeks ago, but I'm struck by just all the different folks who aren't into the pump track. I mean, the guy I talked about, I saw at that bar in Boulder, I mean, he's a mountain biker, a young guy, and he wasn't. So it's just, I think we have a lot of dialogue to have with a lot of people to better understand the pros and cons.
Yeah, we may even want to consider.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, we may want to consider a community discussion on it or whatnot. So, okay. Any other comments? And we're closing it down. I think we'll have just enough time for you, Gene, to go ahead and come on up.
I'll be quick.
Or come on
I
down.
to address Matt Owen's post on, and the one thing I want to emphasize, the guy's been to skateboard parks all throughout the state, from Salida to Fort Collins. And he's visited about 6 different pump tracks. And you notice one thing, the skateboard parks are crowded. they're filled with people enjoying the skate park, and the pump tracks are literally empty. Tanya, which made me raise my hand again, brought up that, do we need to vote on every little GOCO grant or every grant that we get? Yeah, I look at failed projects, and I'm going back in history. None of you were involved with the $1 million spent on the biomass heating plant that never worked. It was $1 million down the drain. More recently, the sand sidewalks. Well, they blamed the contractor for using the wrong type of sand, but none of these projects had warranties, guarantees, a lot of wasted money. I just don't like the location of this pump track. I really think, and since we're using public land, not only land owned by the land, the residents should have an input on that. Put it before the voters. If the voters vote for it, hey, who am I? I'm just
So
one
then,
person.
so then every big project you would think, like you were bringing up the biomass, the
I'm-
sidewalks.
Well, I think if you're
Yeah.
using public funds, if it's a matching grant.
Yeah. I mean,
That's a lot of
we
money.
go through a lot of
A
grants.
lot of
every
money
year.
that could go for other projects in the town. We talk about streets, we talk about, the mountain bike trail idea. I love mountain biking. I have a lot of friends in our community that live in Nederland that are mountain bikers, and they're against the pump track. I just. put
It's
it
more
before-
intended for families and stuff.
What, the pump track? Well, so
mean,
is the park. Park
yeah.
is needed. We had a lady tonight testify that her friend tried to use the park, but it was booked. And of
Well,
course,
it
on
was booked.
weekends, any facility is gonna be booked.
Yeah.
Go on a Tuesday, but everybody works on Tuesdays. Well, these facilities, whether it be a park or a pump track, are gonna be empty on Tuesdays. It's gonna be weekends.
Yeah.
And I'd rather see the money go for an aquatic center. So a year-round facility, all 12 months of the year. Children how many children don't know how to swim?
Well, I think we all
How
want
about,
that.
how about
That's-
seniors? Aquatics is fantastic exercise for
Oh, yeah,
seniors.
no one's arguing.
Not a
about
pump
that.
track.
It's a lot more money.
It is, but it's something we should set our sights on.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
I don't know, Gene. I think
Good points.
I think you'd be pretty nimble on a pump track, though.
Yeah, it's actually meant for the most part for bikes and would be.
Okay. All right, folks. And the one topic that we were open to discuss, but we did not get to it, so we can roll it into some other function, is home rule versus statutory designation as a municipality. And so it's come up as just a topic item. It's not necessarily anything we're considering. It's just we wanted to explore it with the constituents. And so not a problem. We'll roll that into for another time.
Yeah, I would definitely like to make a point that we talk about it, because quite honestly, when you talk about people voting on things, I mean, I think we all need to better understand these two options of statutory versus home rule.
That has to get voted on.
Yeah.
I mean, by law, I think.
A couple.
Oh, yeah.
One point on that. I did some research on it over the last couple of months, but at this point, 91% of Colorado residents live in a home rule community. Yeah, so there's 199 home rule governments and 147 statutory governments. So that's where things are going. And I think part of it's stacked at 91% because it's Denver, Aurora, and several in Colorado Springs. So it's something worth considering. It's not without hazards. I suggest that people go take a look at if anybody wants to know more, let's talk. But both DOLA and Dr. Cog and several others have great analysis that's out there.
We can research it online.
Yeah.
Those websites.
CML's got a good one too.
Cool.
When this came before the board, there just wasn't really an appetite to take it on at that time.
I mean, it's also very important to note that the Board of Trustees can have very little to do with going home rule. This can be initiated entirely by the residents of a town. You don't need us whatsoever.
It's one of the suggestions.
Yeah, I think you just need 5% signatories on a petition, then you can have an election and form a charter commission and write a charter, and there it goes.
Would home rule affect a lot of how our town is run?
Correct,
Like-
you would create a charter. It would no longer be where you have our municipal code, and if it's not in our municipal code, it defaults to the Colorado Revised Statute. That would no longer be the case. Colorado Revised Statute does not then take authority in a town, in a or a home rule town. You have a charter.
So it would be our own codes would be number one.
Yep.
But it wouldn't affect like Miranda's job, all that's all the same, or.
Well, it depends on the charter. You have to write the charter.
Structure your staff.
It sounds very complicated.
It's,
would
I
accrue
went
a lot of
through with
laws.
Attorney Madsen. She just did it for Keystone. They just formed a new community and elected to go home rule. And so there's templates out there. This is not undusted.
Okay, but we are going to save that for another edition of a BOT town hall or whatnot.
I was just gonna say, Mayor,
Or, yeah.
I think that you are wrapping up, but Mayor Billy, we are gonna need a couple minutes to get ourselves situated as staff. And I know
Okay.
that it's already past 8 o'clock.
Yeah, and I'm going home to get my computer's there. So I'll see you all.
Okay. Thanks for coming these last couple hours. And yeah, we're going to go ahead and, do I need to start the meeting to take 5 minutes or can we just start? Everyone, we're going to start in 5 minutes. We'll just give us.
And for everyone the 2 people that are on the YouTube live, we're going to
Thanks.
stop this live stream, and that way we can have just a recording of this. And we have a second live stream just for the Board of Trustees meeting that will go up here in a moment.
Peter, thanks for setting things up on YouTube. I'm finding it invaluable to go back and look at stuff that I thought I said, but I wasn't sure.
Oh yeah, it just makes it really easy to because it automatically uploads, so that's nice.